First of all, thank you so much for speaking to me. This was a fantastic series. I really wanted to start off with the writer director, Ziki, hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. This is interesting take that we don't normally see in terms of this is really about classism as well as the many other themes. Why was it important to show both the rich and those who are not so rich and how they blend in with society in Lagos? Lagos, sorry.
Thank you. The theme of inequality within the story is extremely important because, first and foremost, we sought to tell a story that was authentic to the Lagosian experience. That's actually been our ethos from day one at Kugali, is authentic African stories. And therefore, there's no way of telling a story about Lagos without examining some degree of inequality, because even in Lagos today, it is a fact that the wealthier people tend to live on the island, and the working class and those who are less fortunate tend to live on the mainland. So the contemporary context of Lagos shows a world where the societal divide is actually supported by the geography. So that alone is something that is evident. And so when you're building a world based on this foundation, then there's no way you can avoid the theme or subject of inequality. But the second thing I also wanted to say is that I wanted to, personally, I actually grew up on the island and had a somewhat sheltered upbringing to a very large extent. And it was only actually when I got older that I realized that there were other Lagosian experiences as well. And as I started to mix with people from other parts of Lagos. And so I think the story is also an opportunity for people to experience different points of view. We have the point of view of someone like Tola, because I think that's important as well. You know, a lot of people think of Africa and they tend to think of negative stereotypes, but people like Tola and Tunde show that there is wealth and affluence in Africa and in Nigeria. So you have that perspective of an affluent person or affluent people in Nigeria, but you also have the perspective of people who have had to experience hardship, like Kole and even Bode. So there's building understanding.
Wonderful. Can you talk about the mixture of technology? Because this is the futuristic version. So I wanted to know also, how did that impact both the production design and the cultural aspect of making it futuristic, but still keeping it grounded? So I guess that's for Hamad and Tuli as well. Sorry.
Yes. First of all, I love your energy. And in terms of just mixing up technology and bringing it into this world, we wanted to approach it from a fresh place, because we've noticed that in the general sci-fi world, a lot of the creativity was kind of blend into each other. So we did not want to take inspiration from outside Lagos itself. So everything technology within this show, what kind of grew from the needs of Lagos or the exaggerations of the things we found interesting in Lagos. So example I'll give, which I've been giving, is in Lagos, the traffic is crazy, right? And people drive like crazy too. If you go there, my words cannot put it into, like, cannot paint the picture well enough, right? But that bridge where there's a need for spherical wheels. With spherical wheels, the car can go forward, back, left, right, in all directions. So that creates that change in the future. And then as well, if you cannot no longer move when you're stuck in the traffic, if you have enough money, you can just fly over the traffic. And the flying cars come in, not just because the future has flying cars. It's more like, okay, what would Lagos need in this case? Cool, flying cars. Other results for that, we have a lot of vendors on the street, usually who chase your car by leg. Now, if they're trying to approach the wealthiest people, they can't stay on the ground. So they build drones to catch the cars. So that's how the general futurism of this world is built. It's through the needs of Lagos versus the inspiration from everything that has happened before.
Yeah. You as well.
And yeah, to just keep it culturally grounded, that was also easy because, like Hamid said, we designed all the futuristic tech to suit the needs of Lagos. So I'll start with the last example he gave. In real life in Lagos, if you're in the traffic, people would walk up to your window and try to sell you things in the traffic. So I always say the biggest mall in the world is the traffic of Lagos. You can buy food, you can buy curtains, you can buy a dog in Lagos traffic. So if we then look at this in the future and the rich people are in flying cars and I want to sell to a rich person, how do I reach him when his car is flying? That's why we created the drones that have the like baskets of goods that people are trying to sell in the air now in IWAJU. And also in the market scene, I don't know if you noticed some people carrying heavy trays on their head with things stacked up. That in real life, people carry trays on their head and sell things like that in Lagos. So we just gave them exoskeletons in IWAJU to help them carry even more weight on their head. So all the tech in IWAJU is just taken from real life Lagos and just exaggerated.
The clothing and the costuming is beautiful and divine. You have both the colors that's in it, and it also shows the different, I guess you could say, the class and the wealth of people. Can you talk about the study behind that, of knowing, of following our main leads, Hanade? The clothing also affects the personality as well as the people around them.
Yeah, so because in real life Lagos, the clothing is a mixture of Western clothing and Nigerian native attire. And it's not whether someone is from the upper class or the lower class, they wear both. They wear both native and Western. So we kept that in our show. Both the lower class and the upper class wear both versions, but the quality of the native attire or the quality of the Western clothes changes with class. And we got an actual fashion designer and who also is an animator to be the costume designer for this show so that the clothing is authentic. But then we also took some creative liberty to come up with some clothing that doesn't exist in real life, because we said if this show is like 100 years in the future, definitely some new styles would have come up. So like the one character, Sunday, the bald guy, the boxer, his clothing, that's not real life Lagos clothing. That's something Hamid designed that looks futuristic.
Yeah, and adding to that, you spoke about the meaning inside it. For each and every single main character, all their clothes kind of reflect who they are and where they're going the time of the story. So if you look at, I'll use Tola as an example, just because it's very easy to see. Tola, Kole, and Tunde. So Tola, all her shapes, just in her design, is very round. And then the first dress you see her with, the peacock dress, it has very much, it's very like flashes, very princessy, which is where she's coming from, right? And then Kole, he's pretty much hexagon. Tunde is square shaped. Even his clothes, it's very deliberate to make sure they're box-like, to keep it like it's very boxed into the way he sees the world. And then Kole is kind of an in-between between Tola and Tunde, where it's more of a hexagon. And then the clothes of Tola, if you notice, when she starts rebelling against the dad, the outfit she wears, it gets one, less princessy, and two, the few more like kind of hard edges on them, kind of just reflecting that character journey as she goes through that as well. So there's meaning in pretty much even the colors we picked, right? All Tola's colors are more on the yellow, pink, and things like that, which is, I know people say they're more feminine colors, but yellow, maybe not as much. But they're colors for like of one, when she's naive, she has these colors, and also colors of like openness and things like that. Whereas when you go to somebody like Bode, who is a villain, it's almost the exact opposite, right? We're avoiding any round shapes. We're keeping everything. Him wanting him to be like a skyscraper. That's pretty much just what to show. He wants to show himself as much as he can. And in any way we could make him kind of flex, we made sure he did that. Even in his size was just, you cannot miss him. If Bode walks across the street, you know he walked across the street.
Ah, wonderful. Thank you all three for speaking to me, and thank you for sharing your culture and your gifts with us.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.